Hey everyone, today I'm going to be checking out the Trinidad TB-21 from Lionhart Creations. I just picked this plane up. This is pretty fresh. First impression, I haven't really done anything with the airplane except for load it in. As you can tell right off the bat, we have some type of issue where both of the pilots, or the pilot, co-pilot, pilot passenger, whatever you want to call it, are outside of the aircraft. This is the first time I've encountered this bug in Microsoft Flight Sim, so I'm pretty sure it is unique to this airplane. So that's something to be aware of, that this is a bug at the moment if you are thinking about purchasing this airplane. The second thing I've noticed with the Trinidad is the liveries. I don't think you can change the tail number. I'm going to go check it again, and if anything changes, I'll give a disclaimer at the beginning of the video or something, but I'm pretty sure I selected my normal tail number for all my airplanes. It was an N number because I am American, and it's showing this number on the side right now, so I think these numbers are livery specific. The next thing I'm noticing right off the bat when it comes to the textures on the outside of this airplane is the fact that the flaps don't look very realistic at all. You can tell that the indentions on the top are definitely just drawn on. That's my first initial thing I actually saw when I loaded in the airplane, of how kind of unrealistic they look. And as a disclaimer, I'm not trying to nitpick this airplane and look over and find every bit of flaw in it. Like I said, this is just the first thing I saw was these flaps. And so it's pretty low texture. Not talking bad about the airplane. I'm very impartial at the moment. But the flaps aren't that great. The X, I know that's where you're not supposed to step, because the grip to step where your feet go is right beside it, but the X is definitely extremely low texture also. So let's look under the wing and see what that looks like. Under the underside of the wing, or the underside of the flaps, definitely look a lot better than the top. So I don't really have any bad things to say about the bottom. I mean, it could be better, of course, but nowhere near as bad as the top. Looking at the wheels, you can definitely tell that these are two different textures for the wheels. I think the face is different than the center, for sure. Other than that, the underside doesn't look bad at all, where the wheel wells for the landing gear look okay. Everything's so far looks fine. So the front actually looks from down, oh, wrong button. The front of it actually looks pretty good. The prop, the spinner, everything looks good up here. I'm really nothing bad to say with the front of this airplane. Well, the side, except for this lady sitting on the wing and halfway inside the airplane. Other than that, and the flaps. So the lights actually look off. I haven't looked at them on, but the lights don't look terrible. The nav lights and the strobes definitely could be better. Could be quite a bit better. Yeah, that doesn't look very realistic, but hey, that's up to you to decide. There's a good view of it. Navs on the front. I think strobes are on the middle. I'm not actually sure what the back is, so I'm not even going to say it. Same thing on the wings. Of course, these are like mirrors. So let's look at the back. Tail looks good. It doesn't look bad. Go up a tad. Stabilizer. Rudder trim. Stabilizer is definitely pretty low texture quality. Like I said, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide. In my opinion, it is. Would it stop me from buying the airplane? Obviously not, because I did purchase it. In hindsight, still no. I'm going to say I haven't seen enough so far to not buy it, in my own opinion. The tail stabilizer definitely could use some work. Yeah, I'd have to look at I never actually looked at a Trinidad in real life, or TB-21. So I'm not sure if it's made like that, but if it is made like that, that's a little sketchy. I'm not even gonna lie. I would be sketched out I know they're good airplanes, so anyway, I got off on a tangent. So the outside isn't terrible. Like I said, I'm not a fan of the flaps. You can see your transponder and all that on top. That doesn't look bad at all. The tail and the flaps so far are the only things I've really seen that jump out at me. So let's get inside of the airplane, take a look around on the interior. All right, so we're inside the airplane. Standard 6-pack instruments is, of course, it's an 8-pack, but you know, it's a standard 6-pack. From what I understand, and I think there's a disclaimer, you get a manual for this aircraft when you purchase the airplane. The doors don't open, and they're saying it's a Sobo. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but they're saying it's a Microsoft Flight Sim issue and not the developer's issue. I've seen different on the forums, so I'm staying out of that one. But no, you can't open the doors on either side. Okay. One thing that is animated is the armrest, but I'm pretty sure that's a Microsoft Flight Simulator thing anyway. All right, so the 8-pack, it's just about standard. Like, I don't see. Let me get a close-up for you. I don't see anything with the plane off that doesn't look that great. Your airspeed indicator, low texture. If you can't really tell it in the video, it definitely is a lower texture than any other plane that I've flown on Microsoft Flight. But everything else, turn coordinator definitely does not look realistic. I don't know if that's a turn off for you. It's not really a turn off for me, but that's something that you're gonna have to think about when it comes to textures. Is the turn coordinator and the airspeed indicator definitely do not look realistic. But everything else on this 8-pack does look rather well done. So I'm gonna go over to the center. You got the standard 530, and I'm pretty sure this is a 430 below it. You got your autopilot and your transponder. Here's your yoke. The textures for the Cicada aren't very good, as you can see. And I have messed around with this airplane a little bit, and one thing in particular is I thought initially I couldn't make the yoke disappear. And that's because I clicked right in this area, and as you can see, the parking brake's here. But the thing with the yoke, I'm not going to do it quite yet because I want to show you the buttons on the yoke. But you actually have to click on the crease of the yoke, and you can see it says high steering wheel. Another thing is none of the buttons on the yoke are actually clickable. You know, I'm trying to click them right now. Your trim, your mic, your AP disconnect, of course your mic, but your autopilot disconnect, can't click it. You know, to silence your CWS callouts. I don't even know if this airplane has that, but you can't click that. So just be mindful of that. There's really nothing behind the yoke. I guess this is your manual gear down lever. I haven't touched it or anything. You can use it. It's definitely clickable. Oh. And you can use it with your scroll wheel, by the way, because that's what I accidentally did to try to zoom out. Parking brake. You can't use your scroll wheel for the parking brake. I won't mess with the landing gear yet. You can use your scroll wheel. Also, your mouse clicks to turn this. You can drag it. You can't actually drag it. It's clickable. Yep. Each time you click the mouse is a turn. So you get left magneto, right magneto, both. Start. You can't drag it. I'm not sure if that's a standard feature, but just to let you know, you can't. But you can use your scroll wheel for that. Both of these buttons are clickable. Manual air conditioner. On and off, clickable, and your prop de-ice system. So it does have prop de-ice, and it has pitot heat, of course. So moving on, we'll move up to here. Like I said, these, it was actually to the point where I wasn't even sure if the oil pressure worked. So we're gonna have to look into that. And then these, I'm not sure they work because I'm pretty sure I have more fuel in this airplane than these. Unless it's up here, my bad. It might be actually up here. But I'm completely unsure, and that's something I'm going to have to take a look at. I'm not sure if this is the indicator or if this is. Because if this is, it's definitely not working. Same with this. I don't know if this moves. This will be a good indicator when we crank the plane up. If this moves, this top part moves, that means these probably move. But these don't look realistic at all, really. They look like stickers. They stick out at the bottom if you can see. So they are attempting to be 3D. I will say that. I just noticed that, and I sat in this plane when I purchased it right before I started this video, and I didn't notice that. So from a distance, it definitely looks like stickers. COM 1 works, Nav 1 works. Marker beacon for your audio signal. Looks like everything, actually. I don't know if they're functionality, but you can press all these buttons. This, you can't use your scroll wheel. You have to click it with your mouse. So there's two settings, basically. There's not multiple settings for this. It's max or nothing. Same way with this. You can use your scroll wheel for this side. This is your standard Microsoft Flight Simulator. I have the GNS 530 mod, so it's probably a little different, but it's still a 530. And this is a 430. Autopilot, all these buttons are clickable. I haven't used the Autopilot or anything like that. And your transponder, all this is clickable. I'm pretty sure it's your VFR mode, but looks like you can't click it. Okay, so we'll go down. Fuel pump, turn coordinator, strobe light, nav light, all this good stuff is clickable. All this stuff is clickable. You can use your flaps with your scroll wheel or your mouse. Actually, you can't use your mouse for the flaps. Yeah, you can. You can drag it. You can't click this. You have to drag. Both of these switches work, of course. Avionics master switch is in the middle. The plane has to be running. All three of these are draggable and scroll wheelable for fine adjustments, as well as a yoke, of course, or a throttle quadrant. So all three, you can fine adjust this with your scroll wheel or your drag it. Cigarette lighter, you can't touch it. Let me pull this up. Trim wheels, good. You can scroll wheel and mouse click. Trim, rotor trim, yep. You can scroll wheel this, and you can only scroll wheel the rotor trim. Yep. Fuel selector, left, right. What's this? Left? That's off. Okay. You can also scroll wheel, mouse click both of these. Nothing in here is clickable. It's your rear seats. The interior, the upholstery, the seats and all that aren't terrible. As you can see, they aren't terrible. Carpet could probably be better. Carpet could be better. The carpet doesn't look very realistic, but the seats are passable in my opinion. This is your RPM gauge, which is a pain. And a Cessna 150 is like this too. And if you're someone like me that doesn't use Track IR or doesn't have VR or Track IR, this is a pain. Because when you get below, as you can see, 2,000 RPM, you can't even see it. So I have no clue what RPM I'm at unless I'm above 2,000. So just be mindful of that. Same way with your fuel flow. It's the same way. This is just your secondary altimeter, so that's okay. Same way with your turn coordinate or your attitude indicator. The same way. Everything else looks fine. This doesn't look good at all. You can definitely tell this is just not very well done, and I'm not talking bad about anyone, but your clock is pretty bad looking, and you'll see when I start the airplane up. Actually, all four of these could definitely be better. It's not something that's absolutely game breaking, but it's something to definitely be mindful of. And this doesn't even work. You can definitely tell this is just like a sticker. So be mindful of that you don't have your ELT. You have your ELT because evidently on the sticker it's armed, but you can't turn it on because it's just a sticker. For the most part, I think I covered everything. You got some maps. There's your manual for it. But everything else looks good. Looking outside. There's a Cessna 150 like I was talking about now. Or that's a 152. Let's look at the magnetic compass. Not very good on the textures there either. And if you're a big texture person and you like the way stuff looks, this might not be the best. But It's not terrible. It's passable for me. It's not going to stop me from flying this airplane. But if you're looking for something with really nice textures and really well done, you have to make that choice yourself. So now we're going to fire it up. I want to do a few things. We're going to test the autopilot out, test out the flight handling characteristics. We're going to do all that good stuff. So let's get into that now. Okay, so let's come down here. One thing to note, and as it says in the manual, you don't have a battery switch in the TB-21. You just have the main switch, which is clickable. Microsoft Flight Simulator just has this weird thing. If your camera's not facing the perfect way, you can't actually click a button. So that's not this airplane exclusive. So we'll get our alternator on. All right, so we're going to go... Actually, there we go. We're going to have prop full forward. Let me actually get my checklist that came with this aircraft out. Okay, so props are going to go full forward. Mixture is going to stay off. Fuel pump is going to come on right here. I'm watching for fuel flow, but I'm not actually sure. What is... No, we're fine. Full rich. Whatever. So I don't actually see any fuel flow, so I'm not sure it works. So I'm not going to say if it works or not. I might just be an idiot. So now, you should see your parking brake indicator light does work, so be mindful of that. This plane does not load in with the parking brake on. As you can see, I turned my parking brake on, and now we've got the light. So now, we're going to open our throttle a quarter. That probably is the reason that we didn't actually get fuel flow. So let's try it again. I'm gonna flood it just for science, I guess. So I don't see anything moving. So I'm not sure if this gauge actually registers the fuel flow. Could be stupid. So if I am, just let me know in the comments. It's not gonna hurt my feelings. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start the airplane up. Right magneto, both. Sound, it's not that bad. Fuel pump's off. I need to turn my lights on. Strobe light. One thing I do notice, or I have noticed, is when you turn your nav lights on, you turn a light on inside of the cockpit. I'm not actually sure what that does. I guess it's just a dome light, because you actually have lights over here. Huh. So then, so when my nav lights are off, I turn this off and it goes off. When my nav lights are on, I turn this on and it goes off. Something to think about there. So if we go outside, both of my pilots are outside the aircraft. You can see the navs working, as well as the strobes. Strobes are definitely not at the light on the actual bulb. They're a little off to the side, but they do in fact work. As I get frame drop. So yeah, they're on both sides. It's not quite on the actual bulb, but the navs are close enough, and that's a weird. That's just an odd looking green. Anyway, back inside the airplane. The plane doesn't sound bad at all. Definitely doesn't sound bad. The oil pressure does work, but see, our voltage hasn't moved at all. There's our voltage. Okay, and there's our okay. The fuel gauges and all the gauges do work. You just have to start the airplane up, or either I just didn't notice this at the beginning. So they do work, they just look like stickers. Okay, so we can get our avionics switch, which actually doesn't do anything, if I am not mistaken. Off. Avionics switch does not do anything. The plane starts up with the avionics on. Just be mindful of that. And like I said, I don't know what RPMs we're using because I don't want to actually scoot over every time I want to use to see my RPM, so it's just kind of whatever. You can see the clock. This is one of the worst textures in this entire airplane, in my opinion. You can't use these. It's the same way as the ELT. They're not even with the like the stop symbol. You just can't even click them. So, all right. Anyway, the transponder. Let's get our transponder on. Squawk VFR, of course. I'm gonna be getting a super short taxi today. I think we're gonna go up to 2,500 feet. That way we can definitely test everything out. I already have a GPS flight plan in, so we're gonna go off of GPS, test that out. I imagine if the GPS works, so will the radio frequency navigation, which doesn't have anything to do with the autopilot. But we'll also check out your heading. Speaking of heading, we're going to be taking off on runway 27, which you cannot drag to move the heading selector. You cannot drag the mouse. I just noticed this. It has to be scroll wheel, and there's no arrow at all. So this is a total pain. I thought it moved. No, it didn't. Yeah, this is a total pain to use the scroll wheel because it's going to take forever. Get to where we... Ooh. I don't like this at all. This is probably my least favorite thing in this entire airplane. And that's going to happen a lot to everyone, where you're scrolling and you zoom out. So I've got to go all the way over to west. We're almost there, but that is the only way to move this knob, is to scroll. Almost got, well, 271's fine, screw it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead, get our taxi light on. What is... The turn coordinator doesn't actually do anything from what I can tell. The button doesn't actually do anything. I'm gonna go ahead and give it some parking brake off, and we're gonna make a turn. As you can hear the shock noises, or suspension noises, should I say. And I have no idea what RPM I'm at, but I know I'm speeding up really fast. I'm idle at the moment. As we taxi over to the runway. Rotation speed, I do believe, is 68. You're climbing out at 75. So that's what we're going to be aiming for. We'll get a quick stop. I'm not going to worry about a run up. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our landing lights on. Everything, we'll get a pitot heat on, of course. Other than that, we are ready to roll. $68 for rotation, 75 for the climb out, initial climb. as you can hear some of the suspension noises. So do a roll and takeoff. We're going to smoothly apply the power, and you can see our RPMs. We can see them now. Giving it that right rudder. It's definitely got the gyroscopic precession, if I'm not mistaken, is what it's called. And we are fast. I took off flapless, by the way. We're almost at 2,000 feet per minute climb rate. So it is not lacking in power. We're starting to slow down. So let's see if we can keep it at what we stay at 100 knots climb speed. As we go ahead, we can go ahead and start our turnout to get on the magenta line. And we're already up, almost about to have to stop our climb. Alright, so I'm gonna overshoot 2,500 feet here. Nope, we're fine. A lot of up trim. I didn't check my trim before I took off. I should have known better than that. And we are really flying. So I'm gonna pull the power back some. It does have some wind noise, which is fine. Just one thing to note. Ground speed is 137 knots. At about 2,700 RPM at the moment. So let's go altitude mode and nav mode, and we went to 700 feet default. I have it set for 2,500 and nav mode, so it should follow the magenta line. Didn't get the ATIS. We're slowing down. I need to add some power. But we are definitely on track when it comes to, so I know that autopilot works, but that's mostly the Garmin 530. We are at 70%, so we'll go to 75 and see what kind of cruise speed we get this low. $156. Let's take a look outside. Oh yeah, perfect. Just like I like it. Back inside, this, you can't click the heading bug to square it up, which is unfortunate. So heading mode, as long as you square your heading bug up, this is actually on something like that sim or whatever, this is going to be a pain because you're not going to be fast enough to, like on a departure, to fly departure heading on autopilot. So you're going to have to hand fly until you can, and you're going to actually have to hand fly it and move this with your scroll wheel and use VATSIM. So just be aware of that. The autopilot's working great. Can't lie there. I hate the flap texture. I really do. Everything else is pretty fine. I don't really like the oil temp, oil pressure, your fuel gauge area up here. Not a huge fan of the way that looks, but hey, I mean, it's not airplane braking. I could turn my lights off. The indicators up here are fine. I like those. Even though I just have to zoom in to read them. That's fine. Suction gauge works. Looks like our magnetic and our compasses are lined up. 23 miles out from our destination. The plane, one thing I noticed, flight characteristics, is it has a lot of power when it comes to takeoff. It climbs incredibly fast. I'm not sure how the real airplane performs, but that's one thing that I've noted to myself, is it climbs. And you have to add a lot of back pressure to make sure you don't overspeed and you can actually hold your climb speed, your optimal climb speed. So that's one thing to be careful of with this airplane. And cruise, I think we are dead on 75. Yep, we're dead on 75% on the throttle, which is the average, I think, cruise setting for this airplane. And we're still doing 161 knots across the ground, and we're doing just the same indicated. So that's moving pretty good. The dash texture on the outside doesn't look bad. All of these are clickable, but they're only one click. You can't use your scroll wheel, and you can't drag them. It's just one click, done. Same way with these. These are all scroll wheel. You can't drag, you have to scroll. Yep. And I zoomed in trying to scroll wheel for my heading bug. 18 miles out. Like I said, we are moving along pretty quickly. Our takeoff flap setting, which is technically our flaps 1, I want to say is about 120 knots, and then flaps full is 103. Your landing speed is going to be 75. Approach speed, I think it's 86, 92. 86 for flaps 2, 92. That's backwards. 92 for flaps 1, 86 for flaps 2. Over the threshold, 75. But you could just, once you're on final, pitch for 75 and you'll be fine. The airplane sounds fine. I mean, it sounds like your standard single piston engine. It's definitely, I don't think it's a special sound. It sounds pretty close to a Cessna. It's 15 miles out. I'll go outside again so you can see my pilots. Not a bad looking airplane in the air. I'm gonna go ahead. So we're already going down. What kind of vertical speed are we doing here? 1,000? I gotta pull back on some throttle here. In the TB-21, you're supposed to, every minute on your descent, you're actually supposed to give it some throttle to prevent engine icing. "10 miles out, we are currently almost at 1,500 feet, passing 1,700 feet. The airport we're actually flying into has a field altitude elevation of over 1,000 feet, if I am not mistaken. Actually got a 2-knot crosswind off of our left, which is almost non-existent up here. Go ahead and get our lights on. Taxi. Landing light. Oh. One thing I have noticed so far is this aircraft in particular is a little frame heavy. I'm definitely getting some frame loss, a little more than normal. So just be mindful of that also. It could just be me, but it's definitely something I'm noticing with this particular aircraft. It's a pyramid in South Carolina, evidently. These textures off in the distance look terrible. Nothing to do with the aircraft, but here's a pyramid off of your right nose. Pretty sure we are directly in front of the airport. I'm pretty sure that's the airport. That's the airport. These textures are not good right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna turn the autopilot off. We're hand flying at the moment. This will work. So I'm gonna slow it down. Make sure we are off autopilot. We are off autopilot. Landing gear is coming down. We're starting to slow past 120, so I'm gonna go ahead and get flaps 1 in. I'm pretty sure the flaps definitely have a noticeable effect on your nose up. I'm not sure if it's more than normal, but it is there for sure. If you aren't trimmed correctly, it is extremely nose up heavy. I know it's a standard thing in a real airplane. When you put your flaps down, you get nose up, but this one is, it can definitely get a little more so than normal. So we're technically on our base. We're flaps down on our right base. Since we're in a gentle turn, I'll go ahead and drop flaps 2. See the nose up? I have a lot of nose down in, and I'm trimming down at the same time, more so than usual. So go ahead and nose down so we don't get too slow. We're not quite ready to slow down to approach speed or landing speed. Looking good. Got a 1 knot crosswind. Pull out some power. We're a tad high. Little nose up to get it slowed down to where we need it to be. We're gonna land a little long. We're actually quite high, so I'm gonna pull out a lot of power. Almost idle. And we are idle. Tad harder than I like, but hey, we got it down safely. Pull the flaps up. We're just not even going to stop to clear up the airplane. We're going to go straight to the ramp right here. We can turn our landing lights off and our strobes because I don't want to blind anyone on the ramp. We are at our destination actually. I'm gonna park right here at the Greenville Jet Center. Parking brake comes on. Let's go ahead and clear up the airplane. We'll get our pitot heat off. There it is. We'll get our taxis off. We got our navs on. Trim is almost neutral. There it is. We should have swapped to our fullest tank, but it's close enough. I don't think it really matters. Alright, so we're going to go ahead. We can't turn our avionics off, so really the only thing we have to do is pull the mixture out. That should give us a flight completed. So we're going to go ahead and do that. There's our flight completed. And we'll go ahead and turn off the ignition. Get our alternator off and our main switch off, and that's a flight completed. Like I said, this airplane is, I want to say, 20 euros, 21 euros, which is 26, almost 27 American dollars. So I think I like it. I'm gonna definitely fly it more than just for this video. Will I fly it regularly? Potentially. Would I say to purchase it? That's completely up to you. Hopefully this video helps you determine that. I really tried to show everything I could with the airplane. There's a few flaws that really make it a lot harder to fly, such as the heading bug has to be with the scroll wheel and not the mouse to move it faster. So your heading bug moves as fast as you can scroll. So I'm not really a fan of that. But like I said, I'll fly it more. Maybe I'll get more used to it. Maybe it'll get a lot more fun. I enjoyed this flight, but we'll see what the future holds. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe it. Hopefully this helps you determine if you want to actually purchase this plane for yourself. I'll be back very soon with more first impression videos, more gaming videos, the works. So thanks for watching, and I'll see everyone then. Thanks and peace.